Yeah, look, foreign investment's been around historically in Australia probably for the time that agriculture's been around. I think if you didn't have foreign investment, you wouldn't have had an agricultural industry from the beginning, because that's where it all came from. But there's also been a lot of investment from overseas countries and the corporate industry for a long period, especially over the last 100 years. So that traditionally that's always been there. We're seeing a couple of changes now where we're seeing more investment around the mining areas, so buying up big licks of land around as buffer distances around mining areas, and there's a lot of debate around that. But we're also now seeing a lot of government money coming into purchasing Australian land. Now, those two changes I think are really getting people up in arms, and I suppose people wanting to understand where this is all going to lead to and what the reasons for the purchase are. As we've been saying all the time with this, agriculture and foreign investment are very important. It's very important to go back into agriculture to inject that capital in. But we need to make sure that Australian farmers aren't put at a disadvantage compared to overseas investors. So they need to be paying the same taxes and levies, operating by the same environmental legislation, industrial legislation. All of those things need to be done. And if they're doing all that, then I suppose you can say, well, does it really matter who owns the land? So then if all that's the same, then we need to turn around and have a look about the debate around land ownership. And I think that's a debate that the Australian community need to have. And if it is about land ownership and we've got concerns about who's actually owning the land, then let's have a serious debate. Let's have a register. Let's understand what the actual facts are now. Let's monitor the trends and see what's happening. And if it's not in Australia's national interest, then those discussions can be had then.
I think the reality, though, is that I worry that the Chinese thing is actually playing a race card. There's a lot of foreign investment in Australian agriculture. The Brazilians, the North Americans, the English. There's a heap of people who are actually pursuing businesses here that are good for the sector. Why are we suddenly concerned about the Chinese?
And I don't think we should be. Foreign investment is foreign investment, and not at any stage will you have heard myself or anybody referring to any particular country at all for that very reason. Look, I think it is important that we understand what's going on. We've got to make sure that it is in Australia's best interest, and we need to have that debate. But it really, where the money comes from is not an issue. There's the big investors in Australia, I think of the Americans and the British, for instance. So what's different? I mean, when it all boils down, there's a whole range of countries that are investing in Australia. They're seeing value in that. And there's also a whole range of countries that are investing in New Zealand and many other countries around the world too. So this is not new or it's not unique or something, but it's a debate that's going on at the moment. There's also, political circumstances. We've got a minority government, and that applies a different set of pressures and certainly a different mechanism to raise issues that probably aren't there when you've got a majority government.